North Korea has unveiled a photo of its leader Kim Jong-un reading a letter sent by U.S. President Trump on Sunday, and the White House has confirmed that Trump has indeed sent a letter to Kim Jong-un, although the exact time of the letter being sent is unknown. This follows Kim Jong-un's letter sent to Trump about 2 weeks ago, which Trump described as a beautiful letter. These seemingly friendly gestures come 4 months after the breakdown of the Hanoi summit, since which nuclear talks have been largely stalled. Today, we go in-depth on letter diplomacy, as well as the chain of diplomatic events lined up for this month surrounding North Korea's nuclear issue. For that, Dr. JUNG Dae-jin, research professor at the Ajou Institute of Unification, now joins me tonight. Welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Kim Jong-un described the letter he received from Trump as being of excellent content and said he would seriously, quote, contemplate the interesting content. What do you think was the interesting content?
Yeah, I'm also eager to know the interesting section of the letter. But there are maybe two approaches to analyze the interesting contents. The one is the format of the dialogues, and then the second one is the how to approach the denuclearization talks itself. I think the interesting contents will not be under the how to approach the denuclearization talks itself. I think the interesting contents will be related to the format of the meeting and the talks between two summits. I guess just maybe Chairman Kim may invite President Trump to Pyongyang in some time for the third North Korea and U.S. summit. And maybe President Trump replied that I will go. And that can be the interesting section, interesting contents to how to meet the two leaders beyond our imagination. Beyond that will be some interesting contents beyond our imagination, I guess.
Now, Trump's letter comes as a reply to Kim's letter sent 2 weeks ago, which Trump described as beautiful. Now, the timing of the North Korean media showing Kim Jong-un reading the letter from Trump is noteworthy, though. It comes 2 days after Chinese President Xi Jinping left North Korea, and it comes just ahead of the G20 summit. How do you analyze the timing of North Korea unveiling the photo of Kim Jong-un reading the letter?
Maybe North Korea would like to show that it has various kind of bargaining chip. It is not limited to the China's support or Russian support. Maybe Chairman Kim would like to say that we also have a direct line to President Trump. And then just after the China and the North Korea summit, he showed the letters from President Trump. He can show and demonstrate that he has direct line and he will not depend on the China support forever. That kinds of some message will be released by showing just after the China-North Korea summits. Yeah.
Now, the letter diplomacy, the so-called letter diplomacy between Kim Jong-un and Trump do you think it will likely lead to nuclear negotiations between Pyongyang and Washington? If you remember this morning, Washington's special representative to North Korea, Stephen Biegun, has expressed hope for working level talks to begin, while confirming that President Trump has actually sent a letter to Kim Jong-un. Do you think the letters will likely lead to actual working level talks between Pyongyang and Washington?
Yes, it absolutely works, I think, yes. Last year, many hopes that there would be, the Hanoi should be settled between the U.S. and North Korea summits. Last year, we have hope that, but there was no clues or no news that the two leaders have phone called each other. I think that the two countries attempted to set a hotline between Pyongyang and Washington, but I think the North Korea are reluctant to set U.S. Communication lines into the Chairman Kim's table. So that variable lead to the beginning of the letter diplomacy, I think. So, but the two leaders maintains letter diplomacy and exchange letters consistently, and under the stalled talks, the leaders exchange their willingness to maintain these talks. So the letter diplomacy is the main engine and powerhouse to maintain these impending talks between U.S. and North Korea. And it's still under the top-down approach between two leaders. But there are no rooms for the officials under the leadership. But many argue that the harmonization and the modification of the top-down approach, and then the Stephen Biegun and even President Moon argued that some kind of a bottom-up approach is required. And then I think this kind of approach is beginning now at this point.
Now, speaking of the top-down approach, U.S. point man on North Korea, Biegun, while confirming that Trump has sent a letter to Kim Jong-un, also said that he also expressed hope that working-level talks would begin following the exchange of personal letters. But some remain skeptical about the top-down approach following the collapse of the Hanoi summit. What's your take on that?
Yes, as I said, it's the modification and harmonization between the top-down talks and the working-level talks is required at this point. Top-down approach will make a fruit, bear fruit very rapidly and groundly. But as we watch it at the bottom of the February in Hanoi, the two leaders has failed to clinch a deal because there was no official working level dialogue about the range of denuclearization. The range of denuclearization from the North Korean perspective, it is just only under the Chairman Kim's hand. That is the failure reason of the Hanoi summit, I think. So the modification of the top-down approach should be required at this point. The range of denuclearization and how to denuclearize is the most important thing between two countries, and North Korea and U.S., and that is not under the summit's detailed talks. So the working level talks should be required at this point. Yeah.
So you think the top-down approach is okay to leave it as it is, but
Yes.
some modifications has to be made.
Yes. Yeah.
Now looking back at the long-standing stances of North Korea and the U.S. in terms of denuclearization, North Korea has long argued that the U.S. has to come up with new calculations or a new calculation method, if you will. And while the U.S. says sanctions will continue until North Korea's final, fully verified denuclearization. Now, but Stephen Biegun recently stated that Pyongyang, Washington both understand the need for a flexible approach to denuclearization. Do you think this signals a possible change in Washington's stance?
Sure, I think that's the word meaning flexible is the very most important engine at this point to lead the stalled talks. Flexible, America always argued that the first denuclearization and second sanction relief. The flexible means I think America can go the denuclearization talks and the sanctions relief will be discussed in parallel. I think that this kind of some flexible approach from the U.S. perspective, and from the North Korean perspective, it will be some kinds of a new calculation from the chairman's Kim's view. Chairman Kim is now need to some reasons or some causes to come back to the negotiation table. The flexible approaches from the U.S. side will be some kinds of the cause and the reasons to be back to the negotiation table, I think.
So do you expect more concessions from both sides?
Yes, absolutely. But the more concessions from the U.S. side, in fact, because the U.S. has various keys and resources to lead the negotiations. But North Korea only has nuclear arms. But it's very critical and crucial. But comparatively, in comparison, U.S. side has more resources and cars to lead the negotiations.
So you think Washington has more room to make more concessions?
Yes.
Now, recent developments, these recent flurry of diplomatic events and friendly gestures between President Trump and leader Kim Jong-un comes after about 4 months of a lull in nuclear talks. Why the sudden rush of these events recently?
Most importantly, I think North Korea has ended its internal inspection about its foreign relations officials. And then the Chairman Kim now, I think, decided to come back to the negotiation table at this point. I think that is the most important reason. And as we can see, Republic of Korea and U.S. always open the door for the dialogue, for the further dialogue, and even our side, South Korea, always open for the summit dialogue even. But North Korea has seized all dialogues after the Hanoi summit. And then at this point, North Korea, Chairman Kim Jong-un decided to come back to the negotiation table after the long inspection of its internal foreign relations lines. And then that will be the main reason why they came back to the negotiation table. Yeah.
Many experts have been saying that Kim Jong-un wasn't quite ready during the Hanoi summit, but now you think Kim Jong-un is ready to come back to the table.
Yes.
Now, the G20 summit is set for this Friday and Saturday, and Moon-Trump summit will also follow. Although officials at South Korea's presidential office today has said that there are no plans of a trilateral summit between the leaders of the two Koreas and Mr. Trump. But what do you think about the chances of a trilateral summit between the two Koreas and the U.S.?
Yeah, it would be very rare opportunity for trilateral meetings, and it is easy because the President Trump is coming to the Seoul, and then on the sidelines of the ROG-U.S. summits, the trilateral summits can be held. I think it is possible, and physically it is possible, I think. But it also depends on the Chairman Kim's decision. I think ROG and U.S. always open the door for the further dialogue. But the grabbing that opportunity is under the Chairman Kim's decision and his hand. And if South Korea and U.S. suggest that kind of trilateral meeting, suggested to the North Korea, that will be as we talked, is interesting contents. That will be the format of the meetings. That will be the interesting, and it's beyond our imagination. So it will be some very interesting and historic event if it is held. But as President Trump says, we will see. Yeah.
So you wouldn't completely rule out the possibility of a trilateral summit among Moon, Trump, and Kim.
Yeah.
Now, the G20 summit in Osaka will bring together the world leaders, and President Trump and President Xi are also set to sit down for talks. To what extent do you think the two leaders will discuss about North Korea's denuclearization?
Unfortunately, the North Korean nuclear issues is not the top priority between two leaders. Two leaders are very urgent to deal with their own problems as a trade and their hegemony conflict. That will be the top priority. And then the second one will be, or third one, it will be the North Korean nuclear issues, because the President Xi is the is the leader who met the Chairman Kim in recent days among the G20 leaders, and then his comment and message will be very important, and President Trump will listen to his message. But President Trump also has a direct line with Chairman Kim via letter diplomacy. And then President Xi and President Trump, they think that Chairman Kim is my friend and my bargaining chip, maybe. So unfortunately, North Korean nuclear issues will not be on the top issues between two leaders, but it will be dealt very seriously when when two leaders, U.S. and China leaders, should exchange some cards between them. North Korea issues and South Korean Peninsula issues will be one bargaining chip. From the Korean perspective, it is very some sorrowful, or it is bittersweet, but it's the realistic politics in the world, I think.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jung, for your insights today. A very busy week diplomatically this week. Let's see how things unfold. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that does it for this edition of News in Depth. From all of us here at Arirang, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you right back here, same time tomorrow.